So when Stats SA says that the employment levels in our economy have returned to pre-COVID levels, meaning that we've got 16 million people employed who are in formal employment, it does show that indeed our economy is resilient and that we have returned to pre-COVID levels. The NEC expressed deep concern that ordinary South Africans, however, continue to feel the impact of high food prices and continuing rise in fuel prices. Most recently, the Competition Commission found that local retailers have not been passing on cost reductions through falling producer prices to consumers. The NEC urged government to engage the retail sector to work together in ensuring that our citizens, and in particular working people in our country, are cushioned from the continuing raising or rises in prices. The NEC noted the impact that avian flu has had to the poultry industry, as well as consumers, and however applauded the interventions to curb the spread of the disease, to fast-track the import permits, to enable the importation of table eggs and fertilized eggs, to evaluate the registration of vaccines for H5 and H7 strains, and also to explore the feasibility of import rebates. Dealing with the current fiscal pressures through a combination of fiscal discipline and a growing and inclusive economy was one of the key areas of discussion by the NEC. The NEC received a report from our deployee, who is Minister of Finance, Comrade Enoch Godongwana, on the fiscal situation or position of our country at this point in time. The NEC is reassured that South Africa is not running out of money. The fiscal pressures that our country faces stem fundamentally on economic challenges of slow and jobless growth. Instilling discipline as an important measure is important for us to take decisive steps to grow the economy. Fiscal discipline is not the same as imposing austerity measures that will undermine our developmental agenda. Accordingly, the NEC encourages government to continue with the implementation of the reforms that we have embarked upon, in particular in areas such as energy and logistics, which are important key drivers to our economic growth. The NEC, while noting revenue shortfalls and related rising debt levels, urged government to exercise fiscal discipline in a manner that does not compromise the priority areas adopted by this ANC-led administration. Our country has turned a definite corner as far as our electricity or energy security is concerned, particularly in relation to load shedding. And the levels and the frequency of load shedding are expected to improve during the fourth quarter. This is largely due to the return of the Kusile units to generation once again. It is also due to the embedded generation by private household and businesses, as well as the demand management, which will be adding much needed capacity to the grid in the form of the megawatts that our entire energy or electricity generation requires. The NEC highlighted the need for urgent extension and investment in our transmission grid through new as well as innovative methods of funding, so that we can speedily ensure that the renewable energy projects that are being installed in the Northern Cape, in the Eastern Cape, and the Western Cape can be brought online, so that they do not become stranded electrons. The NEC advised the Minister of Public Enterprises to urgently attend to the hardships that many of our people are subjected to through the overloading and sabotage of transformers in our townships. Concern was expressed that some communities have faced years without access to electricity because the transformers that are meant to transmit electricity into their homes have either been overloaded or sabotaged and have blown up. The NEC is aware that ESCOM and municipalities will be approaching this matter in a holistic manner, particularly in Gauteng, where the government of Gauteng has taken steps which will include, together with ESCOM, invest in new transformers, to deal with illegal connections, to tighten security, to prevent theft and sabotage of transformers, and the installation of smart prepaid meters to ensure better revenue collection and demand management. We call on communities to continue with energy-saving interventions in order to ensure that electricity is available and that when new infrastructure is installed, it continues to function and it is protected. The introduction of the Electricity Regulation Amendment Bill in Parliament, having been processed by Minister Gwede Mantashe through the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, is indeed a milestone in the transformation of our electricity sector. This will bring our country into line with international best practice, and more importantly, it will establish the institutional foundation for a sustainable as well as an affordable supply of electricity into the future. The NEC welcomed the hosting of the Green Hydrogen Summit that is currently underway in Cape Town, which demonstrates our country's hydrogen roadmap and the commitment of our government in expanding our energy mix in order to build enough reserve and capacity for our economy. We call for a greater push for reform and rejuvenation of the logistics sector, which has been under pressure for quite a while. Earlier this week, the new board of the Transnet National Ports Authority was appointed, giving effect to a long-standing policy decision to separate the roles of the state as the owner of ports infrastructure from its role through Transnet's operating divisions as the port terminal operator. This will improve the competitiveness of our ports and enable greater investment. Consultations are taking place on a new freight logistics roadmap, which will outline actions to enhance efficiency and competition and enable greater public and private investment. This process is being led by the Minister of Transport, Minister Chikunga. The NEC applauded the progress that has been made by government in improving the passenger rail. This includes upgrading and rehabilitating of passenger rail infrastructure, the aspect of signaling, also rebuilding of bridges and train stations.